adding fuel to the fire here, saying the 5 defendants will plead not guilty so they can give, quote, their assessment of American foreign policy. Time now to talk a little strategy session. Joining us tonight, senior CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin. Joe Johns joining us in Washington, D.C., along with Bill Burke, who's a former federal prosecutor and was also deputy counsel to former President George W. Bush. Good to have all of you with us tonight. Bill, I want to start with you. You've argued that trying these men in civilian court will make a mockery of our system, although frankly, U.S. federal courts have been used to try many terrorists, among them, of course, shoe bomber Richard Reed, Jose Padilla, Zacarias Moussaoui, without a ton of fallout. So what makes this particular case and these defendants different?
Well, I think there are several things that make it different. One thing that makes it very different is that what we're talking about here, what really concerns those of us who are worried about bringing this to civilian court, is that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, it's not that he's going to be convicted or found innocent. It's pretty clear he will be convicted of something. The problem here is that he's going to use this, as he's promised over the years, as an opportunity to spread his ideology, to attack America, to put America on trial. This is not going to be about his guilt or innocence. It's not going to be about the evidence. For Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, it's going to be about what America has done to him and to his people. That is what this is about, and we don't believe that this is something that civilian courts should have to be subjected to and are even designed to handle properly. Remember that a defendant in a criminal case has an absolute right to testify if he wants to. Nobody can prevent him from doing that. And if he wants to get on the stand and spend 2 days or 3 days or a week or however long the judge will let him talk about his ideology, spread hate, and explain why America is wrong, he'll be able to do that.
Which defendants have done in the past in trials. Jeff, so based on what we hear now, are both Bill Burke in this case and former Vice President Cheney right? I mean, what's to keep this from devolving into a show trial, as the former Vice President called it?
Well, the Supreme Court says they have to have a trial somewhere. It has to be a military commission, has to be, or it has to be a civilian court. And in either place, he's going to get to testify, maybe for a day, maybe for 2 days. So what? It's not going to be televised. It's not going to be anything more than a day or two in the news, and he gets a fair trial. We are very good at having criminal trials in the United States. This is something we do very well. They are fair, they are respected, and if appropriate, people get the death penalty. It seems to me that a trial where he spends a day on the witness stand saying whatever it is he wants to say is a small price to pay for a legitimate, honest, fair, internationally recognized trial.
There's some talk about how fair the trial is and how political it's become. Joe, the debate that we're hearing these days, is it really about the justice system in this country and proving that it works well, also justice for the victims of 9/11, or has this become, especially in Washington, more of another political football?
You know, this has been a political football for a long time. It goes all the way back to George W. Bush when he signed the original order creating the commissions. People ask, well, what are we going to call these people? Accused criminals? Are we going to call them combatants? Do we think they committed crimes? Do we think they committed acts of war? Or both? And what the administration essentially has come down on is saying, yeah, they're both. Some of them committed acts on American soil. We're going to take them to New York. Some we're going to keep, say, at Gitmo. So it's sort of a mixed bag here, but this has been a running debate on Capitol Hill for years, and it's just never been resolved.
When it comes to how they're being tried, Bill, looking at military commissions, which you've advocated for, that system has secured 3 convictions over 8 years. So why would that system be a better place to try these 5 defendants?
Well, I think you have to look beyond the last 8 years. Historically, combatants like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and others have been tried in military commission type processes, in military courts, because they've been viewed as enemy combatants, not as criminals. The last 8 years, to some extent, the delay has been caused by lawyers for the terrorists challenging, as is their right, the military commission process and the rules that were set up in the Bush administration. Now, one of the things that I think people don't understand is that we're going to have more and more years of challenges to the federal criminal process that is going to be used against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. There will be challenges to the way that evidence is administered, is entered at the trial. There will be challenges to the way the judge instructs the jury. There will be challenges to all kinds of procedures that are in the criminal process that will then go up to the Second Circuit and then up to the Supreme Court. There's going to be many, many more years of challenges to the very processes that will be used in the federal criminal process. So this isn't over if you send it to federal criminal process.
I think you have it exactly backwards. You used to be a prosecutor. You know that defendants can't appeal things before the verdict. They're not going to be able to appeal anything before the trial is resolved. The real legal uncertainty is if you have a military commission. We haven't approved an execution based on a military commission since World War II. The law has changed a lot since World War II. If there's a death verdict in a civilian court in the Southern District of New York, they'll get one appeal, and we'll see how that goes. But in a military commission, we don't even know how that procedure works because it hasn't been done in decades.
Let me ask you one last quick question about this trial, because this has come up. Bill, you said, it's pretty clear he's going to be convicted of something, which a lot of people have said. In fact, a number of government officials. Jeff, you said, though, that a lot of this is about a fair trial. How fair is that trial be if going into it, we're hearing phrases like, justice will be served, he's going to be convicted? I mean, whatever happened to, in all honesty, in the U.S. system, in a presumption of innocence.
Well, that's a jury instruction. That's not something we have to evaluate in terms of our estimate of what's going to happen. It's Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's problem that he's so guilty. It's not our problem. It's not the system's problem.
Jeff,
I don't think anybody...
Jeff, on that point, though, I mean, as you are also a federal prosecutor, and you know that it is not the norm for the Attorney General and the President of the United States to be commenting on a pending criminal case saying that this guy will be convicted and he will be executed. That is not normal. And 99% of what happens in federal criminal cases is that the prosecutors are the one, they speak in the courtroom, and they do all their talking in the courtroom. They don't speak to reporters. They don't go on the Hill and predict the outcome of a case. You know that, and you know that this is a very different kind of case.
Joe, I'll let you weigh in with the last word there.
Yeah. People I've talked to around this town, I don't think I've run into anybody who believes whatever happens in this trial that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is going to walk away, even if by some freak of nature he was actually acquitted.
So not as much concern for that. I know, Jeff, you're itching. I'm in big trouble.
He's not going to be walking down the steps of Foley Square at the end of this trial. It just ain't going to happen.
I hope that's true, and I think Obama administration understands they have other ways to keep him in prison or in custody, even if he is acquitted, which I don't think he'll happen.
Jeff Toobin, Bill Burke, Joe Johns, a great discussion as always. Thank you.